Hi, welcome to VEDO day 27. I'm going to continue my story of my third baby, which was my first home birth, and how that went. So when I finished the last day, I was talking about how I was only 7 centimeters after 11 hours of labor, and I was pretty discouraged. It was 9 a.m., and at that point, this is where it got exciting. Patty, my midwife, noticed that I had what they call an anterior lip of the cervix. That was like, it's just like a firmer part of the cervix that's like not very flexible, and it's just not spongy, like it's just not stretching, and so the baby's like head can really just slow things down, impede progress. Baby's head can kind of get stuck kind of on it if it doesn't move, like if you don't get it around the head. Just sometimes different positions help. Anyway, she noticed I had this anterior lip, which of course was discouraging but a little bit enlightening. I'm like, oh, maybe that's why things are so slow. So she told me to put my leg up on a bench, and she was going to get an ice cube, put it under her glove and on her finger. So it was like on her finger underneath her glove, and she stuck her finger up me and pushed on this lip of my cervix in between contractions. So not only did I have like the worst contraction ever, and standing with one leg up, like that didn't help, like it wasn't a good position. Then in between that, I would have to push, like bear down as she pushed on my cervix. That was awful, like horrible. Like I was yelling at her, stop pushing, you're moving your finger too much, get it out of there. Like I was like not happy, like it was not good. I mean, of course I knew what she was doing, but it was just so painful at the time. Joel said it was pretty intense, so I can't imagine what he was thinking watching all that. So after about 45 minutes of horribleness, she decided, that maybe it was more like an hour. In my notes I have that it's an hour. She let me rest on my left side on the bed, which laying down was not fun, but at this point I was just happy to have a break in between contractions. So I was like, okay, I'll lay down. She told me to breathe through the contraction, which was like so hard. I mean, they tell you to do like imagery and visualization, and if you read the books, the Bradley Method and Ina May Gaskin's Natural Childbirth book, they talk about having a mantra, like something that you repeat. And I kept telling myself, down, the baby should go down, and I should open, down and open, and nothing, even distraction and mantra, those did not help. But what did help was picturing like the contraction like as a wave. Then I would just go up, 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 and I knew when I got to the height of it that it would only go down, and just like focusing on like the fact that it was going up and then it would go back down. That helped me. And so I did that while I was trying to breathe through the contractions, trying to relax, but I'm not very good at that. I'm kind of a spaz when it comes to pain. I kind of like tense up. So this was about transition labor, and the contractions were really longer. There was like a kind of a long break in between compared to most people. Like I had like 4 or 5 minutes in between, but the contractions were awful. So that's what I did at that time. And then around 11 a.m., Patty said I could. Now remember, I said I only had to deal with this until noon. At the worst, it would be noon. So in my mind, I was like, okay, whatever it is, I only have to do it for 1 more hour. Patty said I needed to lay flat on my back or squat to have this baby because of the lip, the anterior lip position. So I thought to myself, I don't want to squat, have the baby on the floor, and then like just be on the floor and try to like crawl into my bed. Like my bed's like high up. Like no, I didn't want to do that. So reluctantly I said, okay, I'll just have the baby flat on my back in a bed, which is funny because that's exactly what I wanted to avoid at the hospital. But, I knew she knew what she was doing and that would help somehow. And the worst part about it was that I was having horrible back labor. So laying on my back made the back labor much worse. Like, being on my hands and knees, leaning forward, that made it better. Like, it took the pressure off, but laying on my back made it so much worse. So, but I did that and screamed. Like, I was literally screaming through the contractions. They were horrible. And finally, around 11:30, Patty went in to measure me and said, "You're complete, so you're 10 centimeters, yay." And I immediately said, "Station," because that's like how high the baby is. And because that's what my body does, like the weirdest things. Like, I knew he was still high up, and he was -1. He wasn't even down at all. And so my body likes to like dilate all the way. Let's see what you can see here. Dilate all the way, and then the baby goes down. Most people, they dilate as the baby's coming down. Like, the pressure from the baby makes them dilate, and it goes down. So the baby's head goes down. Mine doesn't do that. I dilate all the way, and then the baby goes down. So that's why my labors take twice as long. That's my theory anyway. But there's other theories I'll tell you about too. At least there were problems with this labor. So when she said, "Oh, he's still -1," I said, "Oh," I was very frustrated. Finally, I was able to push a little bit. So at like 11:30, I started pushing. Maybe at like 11 was when he was still -1. So I think it took half an hour for him to move down, which I was laying flat on my back for that half hour. It was like the worst half hour of my life. So I think I made a mistake on the time there earlier, but I think that's from 11 to 11:30, because then 11:30 is when I actually got to start pushing, which I liked. Even though it was extremely painful and the pressure was crazy. I liked it because I had control over something, and I liked it because there was an end in sight. So I had a hard time like trying to relax. Like I told you before, I can't do that. But I started yelling things like, "Get this baby out of me, and if you don't pull him out, I'm going to." Like, I was crazy. At one point, I reached down, but I was just trying to like kind of push on my perineum so I didn't tear. But Patty thought I was going to like pull the baby out, so she like swatted my hand away. It was funny. But it was also at this time that one of the best things ever happened. I could see my husband was just getting really emotional and excited, and he said, he didn't talk much the entire time, and he said, "He's coming, you're so close." And his voice was like trembling, and it just made me so encouraged just to hear his voice and to hear him, be encouraged himself. I could see in his face that he was excited. Also, he and Patty started like whispering, and prior to this, Joel said, "There's no way I'm going to deliver that baby," and I kept saying, "Yeah, you should. And I knew when they were whispering, I knew he changed his mind and that he was going to deliver the baby. So and then he went into the bathroom to wash his hands. So right when he washed his hands, I was like, yes, he's going to deliver this baby. It's going to be awesome. So that was exciting too. Those were two really encouraging things that helped me during that horrible, horrible time. So yeah, lots of pressure. I was screaming. There wasn't a ring of fire, just a lot of pressure, and pushing 15 minutes. I would push hard with each contraction. Finally, like instant relief, like his head popped out, and I just felt great. Just felt awesome. But then immediately I wasn't happy. There wasn't relieving. I was like, oh no, like he's still in there, because I thought like his whole body would just come out with his head like Judah did, like the whole thing flew out at once. No, this baby was still in there. And so that at that moment I thought, oh, he's a little bigger than Judah probably. So then I had a good 2 to 3 minutes of like more pushing, like 6 to 7 pushes, where I continued to have to push his body out. And I wasn't happy about that either, because I thought he would just come right out. But finally, when he came out, Joel put him on my chest. It was just the most beautiful moment ever. I just said, "Praise the Lord," and said, "What took you so long?" to him, and then Joel kind of crawled up next to me, and we laid there, and Joel prayed for Luther and Luther's life, and Luther's life in the Lord, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful moment. It was just wonderful. So we were just so blessed at that time. We were just such a special moment. And then I was able to nurse him right away, and he nursed for 45 minutes. And Patty cut the cord during that time, and she did not bother me at all. And Joel started cleaning up a little bit around the room, and he did a couple videos, and he texted some people, and we just relaxed and Luther nursed. It was such an awesome time. And then my placenta came out, and then Patty did a full assessment and examination of the baby, and got his weight. And then later on, Joel and Patty went downstairs, and Joel threw a casserole that I had made in the oven, and he brought it back up, and we all ate. And we talked with Patty for a while longer and made sure everything was okay with the baby and that I felt comfortable. And then she left, and then we all fell asleep on the bed for like 3 hours. We were exhausted. But one thing I wanted to mention was he came out. Patty said he came out with at least one arm by his face, so he might have had both arms. She couldn't tell the angle she was at. They call that a nuchal arm, and it makes labor a lot harder. So he had that nuchal arm, and then the anterior lip, and then also she thinks that he was posterior position up until like at sometime during my labor he turned, or maybe before, I'm not sure, but she thinks the posterior position maybe is why I didn't go into labor for so long, and maybe why it was hard. But definitely the nuchal arm and the anterior lip made my labor much harder and longer. So I wanted to mention both of those things. And another couple funny things. I didn't feel like drinking, or I didn't feel like eating at all. I thought I would want to eat, didn't want to. I drank like 12 of those like G2s. I was so thirsty, but I was not hungry. Another thing that was cool to have was a playlist, like on my iPod. We just played music, and they're just standing there, and I'm like yelling at me for hours and hours and hours. So it was really nice to have that music. It was just a lot of Christian music, and it was just really relaxing. It was nice to be in like a little nightgown of my own and stuff. It was just really nice to have it at home. I kind of wish at the end that I would have asked to be in the pool because of how hard it was at the end, and I think I did end up tearing, and I think if I was in the pool I wouldn't have, and I know if I was in any other position I would not have, but and so maybe the next one, which gets me to the next question. Everybody says, will you do it again? It took Joel like a couple days, and eventually he was like, that was pretty cool, like we should definitely do that again. It took me a little bit longer because it was so hard. It was just a hard labor, but there are so many great aspects, like having the midwife come to your home to do checkups, just like the bonding between the mom and baby when you get to nurse for that long and not have any drugs like interfere with that. It's just really, really intense and really awesome. And then afterwards, like how relaxing is it to just like eat dinner at your house and have people bring you food in your bed and go to your own bathroom, and it's just wonderful. Like especially if someone can get your kids like and take them away from your house. It's just awesome, so relaxing. So it was really nice. There were really a lot of good aspects to it, and I think we probably will do it again. Don't quote me on that, but it was great in so many ways. So I would love to do it again, but I'm not positive yet. But I'm really, really, really glad that I did it. So thanks for listening to My Home Birth.